will introduce myself. I'm Virk. I'm a lawyer from Ontario, and I'm also known as Canadian Law Tutor. That's my page and my website. That's how I run, and I provide classes. I have a passion for teaching, and I work closely with students so that I can bridge gap between international education as well as our Canadian education. I have experience of working with Canadian students as well as international student, and myself being an international student, I know what type of information at times is missing. I relate to the journey, and I understand that even when we want to work hard and we want to learn more, we just miss at times just the right approach to deal with the stuff, right? Because we have new attendee, Jaspreet. Hello, Jaspreet. Welcome to my masterclass. She's connecting to the audio. Jaspreet, can you hear us? Do you have an issue? So NCA professional responsibility is giving you an overview what it means to be a lawyer in Canada, right? What are your ethical, moral obligation, how the cases have been developed, and the lawyers do maintain an insurance as you go on. When you are a lawyer, you're working in a field, you will have your insurance, and you need to know that you don't want to get sued and lose your license, right? So you have to do your duty. It's a privilege to be a lawyer. It's a privilege to be able to give legal advice, help people navigate their legal journey, and be able to conduct yourself as a lawyer because people look up to us, correct? Now today in our class, you came to me as a lawyer more than an NCA candidate. You came to me as a lawyer and saying like probably she'll talk some sense. So, and legal sense, right? So when we interact with public, that is also a relationship of a lawyer with other people, and I represent as a member of a privileged member of Law Society of Ontario, and when I did my license, it was Law Society of Upper Canada. I'm still nostalgic about being a member of Law Society of Upper Canada. As you can see, my licenses on the back, they say Law Society of Upper Canada. So we represent a class of people who are passionate about law, and we need to know how can we help other people and being responsible, ethical, and morally conducting the duties as a lawyer. Now, next thing about this law of professional responsibility is try to see the information as it's going along, right? So you must read the code, you must read the cases, and try to connect dot with us. So we can pick one topic today to give you an overview, plus give you more information about that. I will and responsibility of a lawyer in our relationship is governed by whether you are a lawyer in a social situation. So you have to see yourself. See, I'm a lawyer sitting in a court house waiting for my trial, and how would I conduct myself at that moment as a lawyer. Then we have a situation of a public situation, right, where people will come running to you assuming you are a lawyer, right? And they'll say, oh, this is what I'm feeling, and or that's how I think, can you help me? Then you need to know that whether lawyer-client relationship has been established, how to avoid conflict of interest, and how to understand the subject. Try to picturize yourself sitting in an office, sitting in a social situation at a party, in a courthouse, and how would you conduct yourself, right? Plus, you need to understand what is a lawyer-client relationship with the defense point of view, civil law, plaintiff-defendant situation, and criminal law when you are trying to be a lawyer in case of a Crown Counsel. Your responsibility is more as a Crown Counsel. You are not just targeting on representing a victim or punishing a person. Your responsibility is related to the administration of justice. You are an officer of the court who has to make sure that administration of justice has been, complied with, done, and promoted in the system. So that's how you have to learn. The basic thing for any subject is to try to understand what I'm doing as a lawyer in this situation, right? So this goes into the biggest philosophy of life when we say, hey, what I'm doing in life, what I'm doing in this situation, right? So for example, in your NCA subjects also try to incorporate the same philosophy, I would say. Like at least once before you start studying, you have to go and sit with your syllabus and say what I'm doing. Okay, do you understand professional responsibility of a lawyer or not? So you see the perspective, how we look at things changes. So don't think this is an exam of professional responsibility. You are a lawyer. You know your professional responsibility. All you have to understand right now is read the rules, read the cases, and demonstrate to the examiner that I do understand, I do comply, I do demonstrate the professional responsibility of being a lawyer in Canada. You see how we change from doing an exam and demonstrating our knowledge, that changes our overview. Like I used to fool my brain a lot during my exams and the process. I learned this technique, like you have to present yourself something nicely and your brain follows the temptation of learning. Then many people will get overwhelmed with the volume, right? Don't worry. Being an ethical, being a morally responsible lawyer, being accountable lawyer, all this is already in you. All you are learning while coming into Canada, that these are my courses and these are my model code which will govern my relationship more in my life as my journey in law, and that's how I'm going to do it. And I will read the case law. Oh, oopsie, this lawyer made a mistake and I won't make this mistake in my journey. Oopsie, this lawyer made a mistake and I won't make that mistake. So that's how we learn, absorb, and go around that. As a defense counsel, you are sitting in your office, you're representing an accused, and you think your client is ready to do the plea bargain in the court, correct? So I would say try to break it down into the situation and try to see. So just today you are a criminal lawyer who is sitting in his office, whose client is ready to do a plea bargain, and then you have to refer to the model code and the cases and see what the plea bargaining looks like, right? So plea bargaining is simply the client says, I want to, just avoid the trial and I just want to get over with this so that I can, if I drag the trial, it will take 6 months and whole punishment of this thing is 8 months. Let me admit to it and get over with it, right? This is what your client, this is the piece of information you have. So now let's talk about your responsibility as a lawyer, as an officer of the court. You are a key ingredient of administration of justice. How would you deal with this situation, correct? Now, in administration of a justice, you have to, and your role as a lawyer, you will see it. So always I try to relate to things. That's why my key to understand. I would, ask myself, I'm a lawyer in this situation, how would I deal with that? So for Niharika, for you, I would say in this situation, you will go, what are the issues regarding the plea? The issues regarding the plea is the client must admit to every element of the offense voluntarily. So break it down into two things and then read the case law and see what type of, this is what the code says and this is how the case plugs into it, right? So case law is only telling us what are do's or don'ts, right? Then you have an overall understanding, you make your few points and then you're good to go to move on to the next topic. So I would say for reading a model code, give one reading to model code without any reservation. That's my first step. Just read it as a basic, a document, just read it. And in your second reading, go follow the syllabus and then keep plugging the case law. You pick two topics from a case, from the subject or from your syllabus. You pick the model code, read the cases and try to talk around that and make your small notes. And now you understand, okay, like I gave you an example, I'm in a plea bargaining situation. This is what I would do. My client is about to enter a plea. This is what I would do and I would not do. So professional responsibility for me is basically in my perspective, it's more like, in that you are navigating. So model code should be so incorporated at part of you that it's more like a driving manual, right? We don't refer to manual all the times. We know, like, we stop at this light, we move at this light. So you try to understand the material from red light and green light, and of course there is some orange light situation where you pause and you try to answer the questions by saying, oh, this is what my professional judgment says, right? So that's how we will learn this subject. In my classes, I try to bring out the example from the real life, and try to bring more cases as they're going along, so that you can relate to the subject. So you will describe competency in that situation. So your question, if I understand it properly, it's about the competency, right? So competency, first of all, you will understand what the competency means for a lawyer, right? So the competency is not just one word. It's about being able to communicate, being able to demonstrate my work area. So this has more meaning than just one word. So you will pick everything and then describe the competence, and then you will say whether Mr. A was a competent lawyer in that situation or not. Make sure you, in the end, you talk about ingredient of competency as well. So competency is something more than just one single word. So then you will describe competency, plus you will use the case law by saying this situation the person was a lawyer or not, right? So competency can be analytical, it can be logical reasoning, and it can be ethical and professional responsibility as well. So you have to break it down into the pieces and be able to relate it to the facts, and then give opinion on that. In the IRACs, the IRACs simply means your question should have the issues. So the exam is more like a puzzle. Have you solved the riddle, right? So have you spotted the issues, right? So you spot the issues, list those issues, and I always encourage students to do reasoning and analysis in one thing. So you can say issue number 1, later on then you can just talk about the rules, that's your law, and your analysis based on case law, how you relate it to the facts, and you can just go around that. And of course you can write your own conclusion in that. There is no strict format like you have to write these number of pages and then you have to like do one issue, then reasoning, then analysis, then issue. So this is a myth among the students. The examiner want to see, have you legally analyzed all the components or not, legally spotted the issues, and have you developed a legal argument. They are quite accommodating on the fact how you actually put it on the piece of paper. So as long as your issues are complete, your logical analysis of the question is complete, I would say you would get good marks in your question. So you should not worry too much about the writing a perfect answer. You should rather worry about writing a perfect legal argument. Yeah, so we were trying to say over here that professional responsibility is trying to understand your relationship with the law, your relationship with the administration of justice, your relationship with all other stages of law, and your legal working. So end of the day, don't get overwhelmed. Give one reading to model code, and then in your second reading, have your syllabus and your cases ready and your reference material, and then you can walk through it. So you go to SEC, pick one case and read the judgment, how they have developed it, right? The argument. So once you read one judgment from one topic, you will be like, they laid down the law from A to Z, right? That is your best way to learn it. Of course, there are reference materials, and I also conduct exam workshop where we actually try to navigate through the problems and see, yes, this is the problem, that's how we can talk about it. But the perfection of writing is available with Supreme Court of Canada, free of charge. I learned from it, and I'm very happy to share that resource. Go to SEC, pick one judgment, download it in your laptop, and read everything from A to Z. Don't read the summary, read the write down from the bottom till the conclusion, it may be sometimes 100 pages, 50 pages, or 200 pages. It is worth reading for. It is the best teaching material available. I learned it like that. You can become a pro by reading those. Yes, model code is we are talking about the professional responsibility. Professional responsibility, all about is the cases and the model code and the interpretation, right? You can use me for interpretation, you can use a reference book or your reference material, you can use any resource for the interpretation, right? It's just to get an understanding of this, right? Yeah, good. Yeah, my pleasure. And I'm happy to meet you guys and be able to, part of your evenings or the mornings, wherever you are in the world. And it's nice to meet you, and please keep working hard. And if you have any question, keep messaging me, or I try to share a lot of information on my page. Please follow Canadian Law Tutor to get updates on the Canadian law, though that resource is available free of charge. You can just follow and see, oh, this is what happened today in Canada, this is how a new case came in family law or contract law. And reading the cases and being informed is the best way. Professional responsibility is a very, very basic subject, but don't overlook it by saying, oh, it is just this. It can be model code. It's something more than that. Read the model code, read the cases, and try to understand your situation, try to understand your journey as a lawyer in Canada, and it will help you a long way. This subject, it will help you understand how, in your bar exam later on, also how the lawyer's responsibility is, and how lawyer is responsible in his role as an administration of justice, in his social situation. And I look forward to meet you guys in my next classes and be able to help you. And thank you very much. And I hope I have answered your questions.